All right, Jimmy, we got another essay question today.
Right.
This one comes to us from Ali. Now, Ali has asked us, how does Shakespeare use dramatic techniques to show us the power in Henry IV? So I guess what Ali's talking about is show us the balance of power, show us how power shifts, show us maybe how status changes throughout the play between certain characters, and what kind of techniques, what kind of dramatic techniques does Shakespeare use to show us that. So the first one that I would talk about, and one of the things I really love about this play is the moments that Shakespeare shifts between verse and prose,
Mm.
particularly with regard to Hal. Now,
How?
I think there are very few characters in Shakespeare that are so good at switching between verse and prose.
Iago's one of them.
Yeah, Iago's and the parallels between Hal and Iago are incredible. But Hal is expert at switching between verse and prose, and he knows it, and he's cocky about it. And there's a couple of examples in the scene with the sheriff. Where the sheriff comes in to look for Falstaff, and Falstaff says, "You got to hide me." And Hal says, "Okay." He spent the whole scene talking in prose with his mates, being bawdy and rude in the pub, and then he says to his mates, "Now, my masters, for a true face and a good conscience." And he shifts immediately into verse because he knows
watch
he needs
this.
to. Yeah, incredible. And he does the same thing with his dad. He talks expertly in verse with his dad after he's spent, hours in the pub with his mates speaking in prose. And he also does it to us in his soliloquy. Throughout the first scene where we see him with Falstaff, he's speaking in that bawdy prose, and then to talk to us in soliloquy, he shifts into verse. He's really good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see with this character the mastery of language and of understanding his audience and knowing how to pitch. And of course, this then pays off later when you get to Henry V and he's got to give the Crispin's Day speech. That's the kind of the culmination of his powers of language. But what I love about this play is the use of soliloquy as well, and who gets to have a soliloquy. Now, remember, King Henry, who is on the title of this play, doesn't get a soliloquy. Hotspur doesn't get a soliloquy, but Hal does, and so does Falstaff. He gets that catechism speech. And so soliloquy obviously is a dramatic technique where the character gets to connect with the audience.
And
so
it makes you powerful, right?
That's
a
right.
soliloquy makes you powerful.
The power that you have to influence the audience and to tell the story from your point of view is profound. And of course, at the end of that soliloquy, Hal uses a different dramatic technique. He says, like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation glittering on my fault shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which hath no foil to set it off.
Yes,
so he's talking about foils and comparisons.
That line is great because Hal almost he points us in the direction of a technique that Shakespeare is using. He points it out to us, and it is that idea of foils and contrast, of one character being a foil for another. And of course, Hotspur is a foil for Hal, and Shakespeare has created this, and it's different in the source, right? Like in history, Hotspur was a good 20 or 30 years older than Hal, but in this play, Shakespeare makes them the same age so that Hotspur can be a foil for Hal. And King Henry uses this contrast between the two to kind of manipulate Hal. He says, if only you could be more like this guy. And so Hal kind of rises to that challenge.
Which is a use of power, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, of course, another contrast is between the two father figures in Hal's life. His actual father, the king, and Falstaff. And so there's those two are foil for each other. And there's contrast there. And the power there is shifts as to who has more influence over Hal's life.
Over Hal, that's right. And of course, it's important, again, the language that Falstaff uses is very royal. He's called the king of misrule. He constantly talks about stealing crowns. Obviously he means cash, money, but, linking with the crown of the king. Yeah. And that leads to another dramatic technique, which is meta-theatricality, which is very important in this play and role-playing. And there's a very important scene where you get the actor playing Falstaff, playing the king, in a role play with Hal.
Yeah.
And then they switch around. So you get the actor playing Falstaff, talking to Hal, playing his father. Yeah. And this way they get to role play the shifts in power and they get to explore it in a meta-theatrical way.
Yeah, which again gives them power in their relationship with the audience, because we are in on that joke. We're mocking King Henry along with Falstaff. And one more very quickly in terms of their relationship with the audience, Hal gets that really strong moment of dramatic irony when he tricks Falstaff at the robbery, and then the audience is in on it, and he shares it with the audience. And then when Falstaff comes back and he's kind of baiting Falstaff with it, Hal gets a lot of power out of sharing that moment of dramatic irony with the audience.
And just finally for me, Hugh, obviously this play is full of metaphor and simile, and I always find simile to be a much colder kind of relationship, and Hal uses it like bright metal on a sullen ground, and then later on his father uses it like a comet I was wondered at, and I think that draws a similarity between the two leaders, Hal and King Henry, as to the type of leaders that they will be: cold, calculating, manipulative.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Great list. All right, Ali, I hope that helps. If anybody else has an essay question that they'd like us to have a go at, please let us know. Leave a comment for us or email us at learning@bellshakespeare.com.au, and we will answer your essay questions. Good one, Jimmy. Thanks, mate. See you later. Bye.